Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, are the Clippers proving their doubters wrong? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, check out Dreamerspro Max. Is an online sports community that we created. It's a place where you can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games that were live all last night, consume original content that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, and do so many other cool things. So if you guys want to check that out, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below and get 7 days of access. Also, we're going to be 7 days before the playoff starts. Before this playoff starts, we'll be removing our 7 days access because that's when the playoffs is going to be most busy, and that's when I'm really going to focus a lot on the people on there doing the live chat. So we want to make sure that we really serve that audience there as well, but we're still going to be posting video. Let me get into this video here. First of all, wow, did y'all see that dunk from my man Kawhi Leonard last night? Let me do my Uncle Shay there real quick. Did you see, as he says, go James, did you see the claw? Did you see the Terminator? Did you see how he teabagged your man, Ayton on the Phoenix Suns last night? That dunk was so fire that when it happened, we were live chatting last night. When that dunk happened, like it was so incredible. I think it took like everybody a second for everybody to catch up to what just happened. Even the commentators, like, it happened and it was like, oh wow, like they started screaming. I was like, yo, Kawhi Leonard, man, don't do it to them like that, man. Kawhi Leonard yesterday, that dunk was amazing. But anyway, let me get into the topic. I had to get that off my chest. So over the past, let's say 13 games or so, the Clippers have been playing great basketball. I think there's no two ways to say it, right? The Clippers have been playing some very good basketball. If I look at their record, let's say over the last, let me look at their record over the last 10 games or so. I think the Clippers got to be like 8-2 over the last 10 games. If I look at the Clippers record over the last 10, yes, the Clippers are 8-2 over the last 10 games, and they won their last 3 games in a row. And they're beating some pretty good teams, right? The last one that they beat was the Phoenix Suns. One of the reasons for this, right? This is not by mistake, is because of their defense. The Clippers have really picked it up on the defensive side of the floor. I've been saying this now. Over the past 12, 13 games, the Clippers have been holding opponents to close to about 100 points per game. That's very impressive in my opinion. Just last night, they were able to hold the Phoenix Suns to 103. That's a potent offense. Now, to be fair, the Phoenix Suns were coming off a back-to-back, right? They had just beaten, I believe it was, the Utah Jazz just the night before. So you're going to cut them some slack. However, if the Phoenix Suns had beaten the Clippers after coming off the back-to-back, people would be trashing the Clippers. So you have to give the Clippers credit for beating the team. It's not their business that the Phoenix Suns came off a back-to-back. That's not their business. When they lost to the Orlando Magic, they were coming off the back-to-back. Nobody cut them any slack. So I'm giving the Clippers all their credit for winning that game. But going into that game last night, I felt very good about the Clippers winning that game. During the live chat when we started off, I said it. I said, keep an eye on that Paul George and Devin Booker matchup. I said it. I said, keep an eye on that matchup. And one of the reasons I said that was for the exact same reason I felt good about them beating the Blazers. And I said also in that chat, I said, keep an eye on the matchup between Paul George and Damian Lillard. If y'all remember, in the Orlando bubble last year, Damian Lillard and Paul George had this back and forth that they were going through. Damian Lillard even said that, I gave those dudes nightmares. They for what I've done to them in the playoffs. You remember the shot that Damian Lillard hit on Paul George when he was playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder to win that series. Y'all remember that shot that he hit, that big shot that he hit, or whatever it was, to win that series. You remember earlier in the season when Devin Booker and when Paul George and the Clippers played against the Suns, and Devin Booker and Chris Paul were talking trash, they were talking all of this, and I said, why is a dude that I think had never made an all-star team, or was only a one-time all-star, talking to Paul George? Like, where did they do that at? All of a sudden now you got these guys feeling like they can talk to Paul George, like all of a sudden Devin Booker's on Paul George's level. I never felt that way. I never felt Devin Booker was as good as PG. Some people did. Some people are still living in the Orlando bubble, funny enough. Some people are still living in the Orlando bubble. Some people are still in 2020. I left 2020 a long time ago. Some people are still living in last year, right? I already knew that Paul George was better than Devin Booker. And last night, once again, he proved it. Devin Booker and these guys were talking a lot of smack right? Devin Booker, who was just, I think, an all-star reserve. How you going to be an all-star reserve and you're talking to a multiple-time all-star, a guy that's already made all NBA teams, and you're sitting there talking trash? Has Devin Booker ever made an all NBA team? Has he? And then you got dudes like Devin Booker trying to talk trash to Paul George. Like, so when I saw that, I said, I guarantee you, Paul George is going to give it to these dudes. And PG remembered the trash talk. And what did PG do? All he did was go out there, drop 33 points, hit 7 out of 9 3-pointers, and put those dudes on notice. That's all he did. Paul George is better than Devin Booker. I never understood this thing about, people. He's not as good as Paul George. Now, Devin Booker is a very good offensive player. So is Paul George. Like, Devin Booker's a good playmaker. So is Paul George. And he's not the defensive player that Paul George is. So what are we talking about here? But people felt like, Devin Booker, he's not better than PG. In a series, I think Paul George would cook him. If Paul George got it in his mind that I'm going at this dude and I'm trying to get you back, he usually always does. He did it to the, as I mentioned, he did it to Dame and them. He just did it to Devin Booker and them. Kawhi Leonard in that third quarter, he just went berserk. It's like he blacked out in that third quarter. He just went like, it was to the point where I was looking at him, he looked like a man possessed. Even the way he was defensive rebounding, I was like, yo, he was just grabbing the rebounds, crashing into dudes. He was forcing the issue, but I think he was like, I'm tired of being on the court with these dudes. Like, I think that's Kawhi Leonard looked at the floor and he was like, I don't need to be on the court with these dudes. He was tired of looking at Chris Paul's face. It's like, yo, man, I'm just going to attack. You saw the aggression that he attacked the basket with that dunk. He was trying to let those dudes know that y'all don't deserve to be on the same floor with me. And Kawhi Leonard was the best player on the floor. I mean, although Paul George had a great night, but nobody here with sense is going to argue that Kawhi Leonard is the best player on the floor. Now, Charles Barkley at halftime said that he felt like the Clippers are pretenders. I wonder what he had to say after. Right? They didn't look like pretenders to me. You don't. If they're pretenders and they just beat the Suns, what does that make the Suns? Like, if they're pretenders, if they're just out there kind of going through the motion, they just beat the Suns. So what does it mean? Right? The Clippers are beating every top team in the Western Conference that people think are good, or at least split. They're 1-1 with the Denver Nuggets. They already beat the Lakers twice. One with the fully healthy Lakers, one without LeBron and KD. So they beat the Lakers. They already beat the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz beat them, but they've beaten the Utah Jazz, and they've already beaten the Suns twice. So how are they pretenders? All of the teams that are real, they beat them already, or at least gone 1-1 with them so far. So when people are there talking about, whatever, keep living in the bubble, keep living in last year, keep living in 2020. It's a different year. Rondo was not on that team. Serge was not on that team. Nicholas Batum was not on that team. People are still living in last year, hoping and holding on, wishing, holding on to last year. People are still living in the past. All right. If that's what your hope, because to me, I think it's just hope. I think people are hoping that they're going to be the same as they were last year. Keep hoping, keep living in the past, right? But even Nick Wright, after that game last night, had to say, listen, he was really impressed at how good the Clippers were. How can you not be? I'm like, what's the thing that you're going to say, though? Well, one of his concerns was he was afraid that they would stop hitting threes. They've been hitting threes ever since. They played like 50 games so far. I mean, if it was a flash in the pan, their three-point percentage would have gone down. Somebody say their three-pointers saved them last night, but they're the number one three-point shooting team in the NBA for a reason. So they didn't do anything that they haven't been doing all season long. If I try to see, I'm not sure what the Clippers shot from the three-point line for the game last night. Let me see what the Clippers shot from the three-point line from the game last night. They shot 48.6%. They shoot 41%. Yeah, they shot a little bit higher, but it's nothing new for this team to shoot over 40% from the three. If I look at their regular season three-point shooting from the three, the Clippers are shooting 41.6%. So what's the big shock here about them doing that? What's the big, oh my God, is it going to go away? They've been doing it all season long, and right behind them is the Brooklyn Nets. So I think the Clippers are proving doubters wrong. I'll say this and I'll say it again. I think Paul George is better than Booker. I never thought Devin Booker was better than Paul George. For some people that may be confused about that, I never thought that. I was never worried about the Phoenix Suns. I am not worried about the Phoenix Suns. I think the biggest challenge to the Clippers in the Western Conference are the Lakers and what do you call them? And the Denver Nuggets. That's my opinion. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think the Clippers are proving their doubters wrong, or do you think they're going to capitulate in the playoffs? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button if you haven't already, so you can definitely become a member of the channel. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.